Okay, Daddy, let me start with my question with you, sir, if you don't mind. Is that okay?
Go ahead. Are you repeating any of the questions you were asking in the
No, no,
interview?
no, 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 no. It won't even have anything to do with that.
Okay, go ahead then.
Okay, my first question is going to be about the pandemic. You know,
Go ahead.
the pandemic is on now in Nigeria, and a lot of people are thinking it is um it is a hoax, it's not true, it's for the rich, it's not for the poor. Daddy, what do you have to say about that?
Well, not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, I had to give a lecture on the COVID-19 and security issues in Nigeria. And I spent the first part of the lecture on COVID-19. And I appeal that the government and other organizations in the country should continue to raise awareness and to make our people know that this pandemic has no barrier of age. It has no barrier of tribe. It has no barrier of race. It has no barrier of uh, gender. It has no barrier of uh, social situation or economic condition of people. So we must realize that it can hit at anybody, anywhere, and anytime. So the thing is that we should know what we can do to prevent it. So far, there is no medicine to cure it or vaccine to prevent it. I believe we will get those in due course, but for now, the best thing is to prevent it and do what they have, those who know about the epidemiologists and scientists who know about these type of viruses, what they have asked us to do. Wash your hands, use face mask in the public, do not maintain social distance of 2 meters, do not go into any gathering of more than 20 people, that sort of thing that are in our best interest to keep the pandemic away. Now, here in Nigeria, I have had people say, look, it is a disease of the rich. It's not for VIP because fortunately here we have lost a chief of staff in the presidency. We have it has attacked a number of governors. Most of them have all the governors that have been attacked, except the former governor, have recovered. It has attacked wives of governors. It has attacked a chief judge of a state, have become a casualty. So we must realize that this is real. And it's not only real, it is real and raging ravenously. And we must tell our people that, look, don't play with it. It is a plague that ravages all over the world. And it does not know a black man from a white man, a man from a man, a young man from an old man, a rich man from a poor man. It ravages everybody. I think that's what I would say, that please, wherever you are, obey the rules and the regulations. And that is the best way of preventing.
That is very, very powerful. We cannot overemphasize the, what do I call it? The importance of obeying the rules and the regulation of NCDC and what we have been told to do, even in America, as a little bit civilized as we may be, more than Nigeria to some extent, medically, we are trying our best to follow the guidelines. But uh, my question again is, how do you think the government can help? A lot of people are suffering. Somebody posted a question, sir. It is good to be interacting with you on this platform. What is your position? It should be on your page too, Daddy. What is your position on the government's effort to provide succor to already suffering Nigerians? Has it been adequate, or do you think they can do more?
Well, in that lecture that I referred to in my first statement to you, Funto,
Yes, sir.
I did say that within the limitation of medical or health care services, medical provisions in Africa generally, but in Nigeria in particular, most of the governments have done their best. That the issue of palliative, which they first brought in, it
Yes,
was
sir.
politicized, it was badly handled, and it was a good thing that they did not continue with that type of nonsense. How can you say that palliative is for some people and it's not for some other people because their children or their relations abroad are sending them money? If you want to be, if you want to give palliative, give it even-handedly. I believe that what we all need to understand is that at the end of the day, we will all be poorer, all of us. Even the richest man and the poorest man will all be poorer at the end of the day. Now, that I think we must take as given. The second thing is that many people will lose their jobs, even if temporarily. Now, what can we do in such a situation? And here is a country where we do not have unemployment payment and that sort of thing. Now, so what can we do? Now, and then again, one of the things that used to be the safety net in this part of the world, the what I call the extended family situation, whereby if something is wrong with you, you will send a child to stay with one uncle or one cousin, and then you will be running around until things can improve. Now, that type of commonality, as I will call it, is also breaking down. It's breaking down because of people like you, Funto, who have decided to go out of this country and look for greener grass elsewhere. And I cannot blame you. I really cannot. So we should know that. Then what can we do? I believe government talking of creating job. It is not for government to create job. It is for government to create conducive condition, conducive environment for the private sector to create job. Now, when government talk of creating job, it is ridiculous to extreme. Your government cannot create job. If where you should have one clerk in a government office, you will put two clerks. That's not creating a job. That's creating redundancy. and that is not the way to go. But now, what are the things we can do? Government should now realize that, look, every incentive must be given to the private sector to create jobs. Every incentive must be given to those areas where there has been a lot of loss of job, in the area of hospitality, in the area of tourism, in the area of transportation. These are areas where many jobs have been lost. And then where can we create the largest number of jobs? In the agribusiness, from preparing equipment or from making equipment for land clearance, land preparation, through the value chain of food on the table. Now, that is where we can create a lot of jobs, and government should give attention to that. Government should give incentive to that. And then those people in the area of innovation and technology, like what we are using now, how much of a lot of job can be created from it. Zoom is a new thing.
Yes.
5 years ago, we didn't have that. What can we do here to create job in that area? Artificial intelligence is coming. Robotic is there. Now, what can we do in all these areas to create jobs? And I believe this is where government should pay attention.
Daddy, I agree with you 100%. I agree with you 100%. Government cannot create jobs because even in Nigeria right now, you go to some offices, you just see people doing nothing. So government trying to create job is redundancy that they are creating. But like we always say, the Lord will help us in Nigeria and God will help us to make things right. I have another question from the same fellow actually. Okay, what is your view on attempts to find indigenous solution to a cure or treatment for the virus, especially in the view of the initial chaos that people claim fellow African countries have a cure for the virus? What do you think about that?
Well, Funto, a
Sir?
few years back, many years back, actually, I was invited by WHO, and I sat with Nobel laureate people in physics, in biology, in chemistry, and we were trying to find can a nuclear war be won? One of the things that I had to do then was to meet with a number, because we had a series of meetings. We met with a number of people who were talking of afforestation and deforestation. And at that meeting, there were many barons from pharmaceutical industry. And I was saying to them, well, we are talking here of afforestation and deforestation. What are you people from pharmaceutical industry doing? And they laughed at me and said to me that 80% of the drugs that we use have their origin in herbs, that is, in trees, in tree leaves, in tree roots, in bark of trees. And their concern is that they have not explored up to 10% of the trees in the world. And these trees are diminishing. So concern is they want to explore and extract as much as they can do from these trees before they go. What they call the active ingredient, which is what now they bring out, and then they get it and put into the drug that we now say can cure this and can cure that. So if somewhere somebody then said, look, he has got something that can cure a particular disease, I will not poo-poo it. I will say yes. And Funto, you know, I'm not like you. You were born in Abeokuta, in the city. I was born in the village where there was no there was no milk. I saw my mother's breast milk and pap. And then anytime we had anything, we use agumu, which comes from herbs.
Trees.
And we use agbo, which you drink from herbs. And we were cured. And as I said, I had this meeting with experts, and they say that the problem of our own agumu, which are herbs put together and granulated together, or agbo, which are herbs put in water and allowed to settle, is that we do not know what is the active ingredient and what quantity we should take to cure whatever malady want to cure. But I believe that if we do carry out research into this, and we can deal with the active ingredient, measure it, and extract it and put it together, there's a lot that we can get out of herbs. And some countries have done this. China has done a lot of this. I believe South Africa is doing some. And we here in Nigeria, I think a beginning has been made. Maybe we haven't moved as fast as we should. And I believe that some claims are bogus, mind you. But I will say what we should do is, if you make a claim, come and prove it. If you make a claim, come and prove it. We should then, if we make a claim, we provide scientific system for you to prove it. If it's an agumu, we find out what is that agumu, what are the constituent parts of that agumu that may be able to cure a disease. If it's an agbo, what is the constituent aspect of that agbo that can cure a disease? But we shouldn't just wave it off or make a ridicule of it.
Okay, Daddy, you have a lot of questions, so let's move on. The next question. It is good to, from Fumilola Adewale Akintola. It is good to have you here, sir. What are you doing as the past president to help in combating insecurity in Nigeria?
Well, as a past president, you don't forget that I'm an ordinary man as any Nigerian. Now, as we have it now in our constitution and our law, the issue of security is mainly the responsibility of government. In fact, you as an individual, there's limit to what you can do, even to provide security for yourself, because you cannot keep a gun without license. And if you are not given license, you cannot keep a gun. If you keep a gun, it's an offense. It's a criminal offense. And if you use a gun that hasn't, where you haven't got license, well, you use it and it becomes lethal, um, then the problem is yours. So, saying as a former head of state, what can I do now? You should be asking me, what did I do when I was there as head of state, and what I did, how effective was
Effective.
it?
Yes.
And then now, what has caused what we have now? One of the things that I want to just tell you, one of the things that I had to deal with when I was head of state and president is militancy in the Niger Delta area. And one day I called a meeting. I said, these people, these militants, just bring them from the creek, let them come. And I gave them amnesty for that occasion. I said, it doesn't matter what crime you have committed, just come. I want to have a meeting with you. And they came, about 39 of them. And I received them in my council chamber, the cabinet chamber. And I said to them, look, what are your problems? Why are you doing this? And one young man got up and said, sir, when you were military head of state, you brought UPE, Universal Primary Education. And it was because of UPE that I was able to go to school. And because I did well in primary school, I went to secondary school. And then I went to university. And I said, I come from an oil producing area. I will study chemical engineering. And he studied chemical engineering. And he said to me, Mr. President, I have been out of university. I have done my youth corps. 4 years ago, I have no job. What do you expect me to do? And when he puts it to me like that, now I understand. And just said to him, yes, I understand. And then we will do something about it. So it amounts to lack of job opportunity, lack of employment. And we said, okay, all companies, around and other companies, now what can you do? And we charge them with responsibility to create job and to employ local people into in the employment they have created. Now, and you will find out even Boko Haram that had lingered on now for more than 12 years. Now, what is the origin of it? The man who started it, Mohammed Yusuf, he had some followers, and he got them together and said, how many of you have gone to college and university? And they all raised up their hands. Now, how many years have you been out of college? 5 years, 4 years, 6 years. Now, what job have you got? And they say no job. So he said, look, that is the uselessness of the education you have had. And that is how the name given to them, Boko Haram, comes up. Actually, that's not the name they give themselves. So Boko Haram became potent as a result of lack of development, lack of job opportunity, even for those that have education, lack of education for many that should have education. So that we must know the genesis of the issue of our insecurity and attack it from the root, not trying to deal with the symptom. If you have headache, you should know whether your headache is coming from hypertension, high blood, or whatever. And then, because if you just take Panadol, whatever, you are not dealing with headache whose origin is high blood pressure. That we have to deal with our insecurity, lock, stock, and barrel, from root, stem, and branches.
Okay, thank you, Baba. You have like 7 more questions. And I know I promised you 15 minutes, but you already spent 30. So let's move on. Sam, will you say there is hope for the future of this country, considering the rich get richer and the get rich quick syndrome of many Nigerian youth? That means the youth just want to make it, they don't care at all costs. Do you think there is hope for the future of the country, sir?
Well, Funto, the day I lose hope in the future of Nigeria, I will just then ask God to call me. Because for me, hope is a lot of things. Now, if I go a little bit religious, in 1 Corinthians chapter 13, verse 13, Paul talk of three things: faith, hope, and love.
Love.
Faith, hope, and love. Any person who loses any of these three, or these three, he does not need to continue to live. Hope is on what we base everything. You want to eat in the hope that the food you are eating is not going to be poisoned.
You're right.
You put money in the bank in the hope that when you go back to the bank, your money will be there and they will give it to you if you want it. Now, if hope is shattered, then everything is shattered. I know that there are many crises that we are facing in Nigeria. I know there are many things that we should have done that we failed to do, and many things that we should not have done that we have done. But when you look at the history of Nigeria and you compare with the, excuse me, you compare with the history of other countries, there are no countries that have not had some form of agitation, some form of frustration for their youth and their citizens as we are having. The point is that, are we making progress? Now, I believe that we are not making enough progress, and that is really the painful aspect. We are making the mistakes that we should not have made. But they are in our growing to be a great nation. And there will be growing pain that we will suffer, growing stress that we will go through. But I am a very, very hopeful man about Nigeria and indeed about Africa. I wrote something not long ago as I said, I see hope. I see hope particularly in the young ones in Nigeria. Now, some of them have been greatly enterprising and they have broken new ground. Some, of course, are frustrated. I will agree. But I will say, don't lose hope. I feel frustrated at times myself because I see what patently can be done that is not being done. And I talk about them at times, and I am ignored at times. At times I am abused, but I will not stop talking because to keep your mouth shut when you should not, you become an accomplice in the crime or in whatever is going wrong.
Okay, thank you, Daddy. Another question. You said earlier, this is from Jumoke Anwana. She said, you said earlier that government cannot create jobs like that. But isn't it right for the government to create a conducive environment for small businesses to thrive, like infrastructure, like lights, like roads, Don't you think that is the first step that the government needs to do, so that even if they don't create jobs, foreign investors and other people can come and invest in Nigeria? What do you think?
Yeah, but he's saying exactly what I've said, that
That's
job government should create the condition for the private sector to be able to create jobs. And infrastructure is one of them. If
yeah.
you haven't got electricity, how energy, how can you talk of doing anything in the area of in industry? It doesn't matter whether you are mini micro industry or mini industry or small scale industry. Even those of us who are farmers, we need energy to be able to produce, to preserve, and to process whatever we produce. So infrastructure is one, infrastructure of energy, infrastructure of communication, infrastructure of transportation, infrastructure of market. That you cannot really talk of job creation without that. Now, I think for job creation, let me put it this way: there is the hard infrastructure, and there's what I will call the soft infrastructure. The soft infrastructure will be, what do we do with exchange rate? What do you do with inflation? What do you do with access to loan at reasonable rate of interest? These are also part of enablement of creating conducive condition for jobs to be created. So when I talk of government creating conducive environment, creating conditions, all these are what I mean. But if government says, I'm going to create jobs, what are they going to do? Government in our own part of the world is a bad producer. So let government give us law and order that will give us opportunity, that will provide us security to be able to do what we need to do.
Thank you, Baba. Let me wrap up quick so I can release you, but I have four more. The next question, Samson Lawson said, it is actually true that government can't create, it is actually not true that government can create jobs. I think the guy is just not happy with that. But it is a problem because government will create jobs that they want to give to their personal people, or they put the wrong people to create the job. That was just a comment, Baba. The next one.
Okay, if Funto, if it's
Sir.
a comment, I do not agree with that comment.
Okay, sir.
The type of job he's talking about, if somebody brings his brother or his sister or his friend to a job in government, that's not creating job. That's not what the type of job we are talking about. That is nepotism in any case, and that's corruption. But if that's what he wants, and he said government can create job, then good luck to him. Go on.
No, okay. The next one, he said, Baba, we know where you left power. I think power, electricity, which you have talked about, is the biggest problem of Nigeria. Like you just said, rightly said, there is nothing anybody can do without electricity. So I'm not going to ask you anymore about electricity. The next one I'm going to ask you. He said, Baba, what are you doing? What can you do to help us on the road from Abeokuta to Lagos? Abule Egba to Abeokuta. Baba, can you help?
Well, now, if I'm a contractor, I will ask that the government should not even pay me. I will do those, the road he's talking about from the old Abeokuta to Lagos through Ifo. Is extremely, extremely bad.
That's on the way to our village, oh.
That's the way to your village, Funto. I know that. It's also the way to my village. Now, but really, not too long ago, I talked to the governor of Ogun State on that road. I went particularly, especially to talk to him because it's a federal road. And even if the state government wants to do something about it, you can do something to ameliorate, but it is federal responsibility to
Wow.
do that road. And the governor assured me he will get it to the right quarters. I hope he will get it to the right quarters. But let me also give the devil his due. There's part of that road that is being worked upon before
Leave the devil.
between Ifo and and uh, um, Sangwater.
Hmm.
Julius Baja is working on that, on a bit of that.
Particular one.
But the point also is that as they are working on some parts are falling apart. One of the things that we must have, or we must understand about that particular road is that the road was not designed for the type of uh, traffic it now carries.
Traffic.
You now have you now have this cement, the Ewekoro cement, the Beshe cement, and they carry 40-ton trailers. Now the road was not designed to carry a 40-ton load, probably designed to carry a 25-ton load. And if you start putting 40-ton load on it, you will tear it apart quickly. And another thing is that the maintenance that we used to have in the olden days of controller of works being responsible for this stretch of road and all that, that has all disappeared. So you have a road, it starts tearing apart, and instead of mending it quickly, nobody will pay attention to it until it actually gets bad and impassable. And that is part of what I believe government should take care of. What happened to the old road maintenance arrangement, road maintenance? In the days of PWD, they are always there to do maintenance, road maintenance. So you are right, that road is a bad road, but there's virtually no road in a part of Nigeria that I know that there's no bad part. But where something is being done, I will say, well, let's get more of it to be done. Where something is not being done, let's say they should do something about it.
Okay, Daddy, I'm going to combine two questions. Uh,
Okay.
it's all about infrastructure, but somebody said, I appreciate, it will be the last one. I appreciate your sense of humor, Baba, life stories, and dexterity. How do you cope with stress, especially from unfounded criticism? And I will make that the last one because a lot of people are going through stress and they want to know how to cope. But Baba, before you answer, everybody on the line, I have a recorded session with Baba already that I'm going to start playing after Baba leaves the live session. And so many questions that you are asking were answered in the recorded session. I can't keep Baba too long on the chair. Baba is very young at this time. So don't hang up. Stay tuned when Baba leaves to continue the recorded session. God bless you. Baba, please answer that question.
Well, I will say this, Funto, that there is nobody, whether rich or poor, that doesn't have periods of stress and strain because they're up and down in life, up and down in life. And but what do you do when you have stress? First, I believe that you should try and sleep.
Nobody try and sleep.
People asked me, now, what do you do to let off? I told you I'm in this dress because I've just finished playing squash. Now, at my age, if I still play squash, and when I play squash well, I sleep well. And I tell people that one of the things I learned very early in my own life is what um, uh, somebody called RED: rest, exercise, and diet. Rest, exercise, and diet. That is very good for anybody. Now, when you have stress, get rest first of all. You have something, I believe very much in drinking tea with adequate amount of milk and a bit of honey, and it makes me sleep. After I play squash and I come home, I drink my green tea with a bit of milk and honey. I sleep like a log. And when I wake up the following day, I am a different man. Now, two, I read the Bible a lot. And there's no situation that may be afflicting you or affecting you that you will not have something like it in the Bible. And I believe other holy books are similar, the Quran and the uh, the Hindu books and
The
all that.
Mormon and all
Uh,
of that.
I believe those religious books are very good. They soothe you, they comfort you, and whatever is worrying you, you should get get it out of your system. Now, the second thing is prayer.
Prayer.
Look, prayer conquers all things. You pray, God, I have this problem, I leave it in your hand. And you find if you pray faithfully, you find that God will answer you honestly. Because God said, come to me, those who are heavy laden. And if you are heavy laden, God will help you
You rest.
carry your, because stress is load. And another thing that I believe you must remember is that if you worry, it doesn't solve your problem. If anything, it adds to it. So why don't you take your problem to God in prayer and leave it with him? And he says, he will do it. He has promised he will do it. Go to him faithfully in prayer and ask him to do it. And you will be surprised how much he will take off the burden out of your chest and off your shoulder. Remember, God is powerful to
God.
do all things. Powerful to do all things. It's not deaf not to hear you. And his hand is not long, is not short, not to reach you or to reach anywhere he wants to reach. That is how I put
Till
away stress and pains and strains, and I live my life as normal. And what will be your worry? Death. If it comes, you can't do anything about it. So why are you trying to worry about what may come? In any case, if you worry about it, or what may not come, and then you kill yourself for what may not come, and don't strain yourself, don't stress yourself. Take it to God in prayer. Thank you, Funto.
Baba,
Thank
I
you,
want
all
to
of you.
say thank you so, so much. I know you loved me before, but now I know you love me more. Thank you so much, Baba. God bless you, sir. I'll call you after. Have a good one.
Funto, thank you very much. Now, I've always loved you, even when you were naughty. Now that you are...
I don't tell people I'm naughty now.
But I love you all the time, Funto. Thank
I
you
love
very
you.
much.
Thank you so much. May your days be long in Jesus' name. Thank you so much.